Jay here from Full Time Devils. This is your MUFC daily transfer update live. Do get involved in the chat and the comments. We'll be giving you the latest transfer and daily United news. Now, let's get it out of the way. United lost at Bournemouth at the weekend, as you all know, and there's been the usual question marks over the players, the team, the manager, the CEO, the owners, the tea lady, everything. Everyone's been questioning, is Ollie the right man for the job? Are these the right players? One player that's in particular that's been spoken about quite a lot over the last couple of days has been Fred. Now, Fred's a little bit marmite with a lot of United fans. There's a growing number of fans who are sort of buying into Fred and like what he's about and think he's a good player and he's the right sort of midfielder for United. There's another section of fans who aren't sure about him, don't think he's good enough, think he's a little bit erratic or whatever. Now, Fred's stats against Bournemouth were actually pretty impressive. I'm just going to have a look here. I've got them written down on this piece of paper. 100% dribble success, 88% pass accuracy, 86% long pass accuracy, 9 recoveries, 7 out of 11 duels won, 6 out of 7 long balls completed, 3 out of 3 dribbles completed, 3 chances created, 2 out of 3 tackles won, 2 interceptions, 1 block. Pretty solid, a shot on target as well, although, to be fair, it was a glorified pass back, that shot. I've hit kids harder than that, so I don't really count that. But no matter what you think of Fred, that was a decent sort of, those stats are quite decent, and it's the case to be made that he had a good game against Bournemouth. I thought he did okay. But funnily enough, there were still those that were critical of him. We did the Fancams afterwards, as usual, and there were quite a few fans who said that they didn't think, or there were a few fans, sorry, they didn't think he was up to it. But Fred, I think he's getting there. I was impressed with him on the Liverpool game. I'm a little bit sort of cautiously optimistic, should we say. I don't think we can say he's definitely good enough, he's definitely what we need, but there's signs there that there is a player. The question is, how does it work? Does he work alongside Scott McTominay? Does he work alongside Paul Pogba? There's we need to sort of find a right balance there in midfield. When Pogba comes back, I can probably see Fred and McTominay sitting in that sort of that double pivot with Pogba just in front of him. But that's a player that seems to be getting a little bit of momentum behind him and seems to be getting a run in the side. It's obvious that Ollie likes him. To be honest with you, we haven't got a lot of other options anyway. So at the moment, Fred's getting a decent run in the team and he's beginning to get quite a lot of praise. One player who's not getting a lot of praise is Victor Lindelof. Now, Victor Lindelof was actually my pick for Player of the Year last year. I know Luke Shaw got it, and there's some people that say they thought Paul Pogba was going to get it. I thought Victor Lindelof, over the course of the season, was our most consistent player. Apparently Barcelona were interested in him in the summer. It actually made a bit of sense. He'd had a really good season. He's a Swedish international, established international, young player as well, relatively young, only in his mid-20s. But this season, he's just gone off the boil, and he's just not looked the same player that he did last season. He hasn't looked great at all. He's been making mistakes. He looks a little bit shaky. I was seen him all season, but at the Palace game, I remember he made a bit of a mistake. And even though at the weekend, people were pointing a finger at him for Josh King's goal. Some people were saying it's Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but when you look at it, if you sort of look at it properly, it was probably Lindelof who was more at fault. And this is a real worry. Now, people are already suggesting, should we replace him? Should it actually be Axel Tuanzebe, who comes in alongside Harry Maguire? Even Marcus Rojo, should he be the player to partner Harry Maguire? Listen, as long as it's not Phil Jones that's being suggested, then we'll know we're in real trouble. But Victor Lindelof is someone who's been getting a little bit of stick, some of it warranted, some of it a little bit OTT, but United need him to get back to the form that he was showing last season, because he hasn't been good enough this season, and it's no good us spending 80 million quid on Harry Maguire, 50 million quid on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, bringing in the likes of Brandon Williams. If Victor Lindelof suddenly goes completely off the boil, then we're sort of taking one step forward and 2 steps back. So we need him to step up, and if he doesn't step up, Ollie may have to make a difficult decision, because I know Axel Tuanzebe's obviously had his injury problems, but if Axel's fit, he had a great season last season at Aston Villa. We know what he can do in a United shirt. He's already shown that. Then it could be a case that Axel Tuanzebe is preferred to Victor Lindelof to partner Harry Maguire. Unless, of course, we do go to 3 at the back, and we do have a situation where we've seen that before, sort of 3-5-2, where we have Maguire, Lindelof, and Tuanzebe. But even then, you could argue there's a case you could have Maguire, Axel Tuanzebe, and Marcus Rojo. I know some people look at Marcus Rojo and think, can you rely on him? But he's had some decent performances in red shirt recently. My main problem with Marcus Rojo is he just doesn't stay fit enough. He's made of glass, but if he can stay fit, he's a player that you can really get behind. Now, transfer news. Do get involved in the comments, guys, as well. Let me know what you think of Victor Lindelof's season, what you think of Fred as well in the Bournemouth game. Do you think Fred has sort of not turned a corner, but is beginning to prove himself as a Manchester United player. Now, as you'll see from the graphic, one transfer rumour, it's not just appeared this, it's been doing the rounds for a little while, but it's popped up again, and this is Declan Rice to Manchester United. Now, the latest sort of twist in this is that Declan Rice has been linked with a move to Manchester United this January. Now, there was sort of rumours or stories that we could be going in for him next summer, that he was a sort of midfielder that Ollie fancied and that United looked at, and he fits in with this ethos of buying young players that have played in England as well. Yeah, you know, we've got Harry Maguire. I know he's not quite young, but he's youngish. Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Daniel James. I know he's not English, he's Welsh, but they've all played in the English leagues. They're all relatively young, and that seems to be the new sort of MO for Manchester United going forward. None of these big name stars or these stars from abroad, sort of buying British, if you've got to get all Brexit all over it. Declan Rice, for me, is a decent midfielder. I know Adam McCullough sort of got thrown under the bus by Rio Ferdinand when this story came out, and he wasn't too keen on it. And I don't blame Macca, to be honest with you, because Declan Rice, for me, the jury's almost still out on him. Yes, he's had some good games and he's broke into the England squad and he's played for England as well. But the numbers that are being sort of mentioned, 80 million quid. Yes, he's only 20 years old, I think, so he's got a long career ahead of him. But is he that much better than what we've got right now? Has he proven himself enough to command an 80 million pound figure, if that's what you're going to have to pay? And I think you would end up paying something like that. I know that sounds a lot excessive, but if you look at it, he's very young, he's English, you always pay a premium on English players. He's an England international, which automatically adds value to you. And West Ham are a club that, yes, they sell players, but they're not right at the bottom of the Premier League. They're not a club that has to sell players on the cheap or sell players for relatively small fees just to keep ticking over. They could dig their heels in and say, we're not going to sell him unless you give us big money. And let's face facts, United have been splashing the cash before. We paid 50 million, as I said, for Wan-Bissaka, 80 million for Harry Maguire. Declan Rice is a lot younger than Harry Maguire. He's a midfielder, he's only 20. You could argue, right, okay, if you're paying 80 million for Harry Maguire, then you should be paying something similar for Declan Rice. I'm not too keen on this move, if I'm being honest. I just think I think the price is wrong, and I'm not sure I don't even know if he'd even get into our team right now. If everyone's fit, does Declan Rice get in ahead of Pogba, McTominay and Fred? I'm not so sure he does. And also, we've got Jimmy Garner coming through the ranks. Now, Jimmy Garner is a bit more box-to-box than defensive midfielder. I think Declan Rice sort of sits in front of the back four. But there's a good chance that in a couple of seasons, James Garner, or even next season perhaps, probably not next season for me, probably season after, but you never know, could be ready for the first team. Now, if you think about it, Garner's trajectory is like that. So's Declan Rice's, to be fair. But there's a chance that Jimmy Garner could be better than Declan Rice in a couple of seasons. And then you're going to be left with an £80 million substitute. Just, I don't know. It's one that, for me, just doesn't seem right at all. It seems like it's a massive risk that United don't need to be taking. Yes, we need midfield and we need to strengthen in that area. And yes, it's good to get young players who are going to get better and better. But I think we need players that can come in and be better than the midfielders that we've got already. And I think you can have a young midfielder who comes in and gets straight into the first team. And I don't know if Declan Rice does. He's had an okay season at West Ham. He did okay against United. But West Ham have been struggling a little bit. There's pressure on Pellegrini. They lost at home to Newcastle. We've all lost to Newcastle this season. But they lost at home to Newcastle 3-2, which wasn't great. Rice, I don't think he had a terrible game, but he wasn't particularly good from what I've seen. So it just seems like a big risk and one that I'm not sure is worth taking. I know you can say, oh, well, you know, he didn't have a great game against Newcastle. What does that mean in the grand scheme of things? It doesn't mean a lot. But, you know, looking forward, looking at the games he has played this season, he hasn't really shone consistently in a way that makes you think there is an £80 million player. He's had enough good games to get into the England setup and for Gareth Southgate to notice him, but he's not suddenly one player that you think, yep, 80 million quid, let's go for that, let's snap your hand off. Don't forget as well, United were linked with Sean Longstaff in the summer. Again, big money for around 50 million. So we've been linked with a few midfielders. We'll have to wait and see on that one. It wouldn't surprise me if that actually happened. I don't know if it's going to happen in January, but it wouldn't surprise me if United did go in for Declan Rice. But right now I'm going to stick my neck out and saying I don't think we should. Another player we've been linked with is Timo Werner from RB Leipzig, the striker, 23-year-old striker who's on absolute fire this season in the Bundesliga. I think he's got 9 goals in 10 starts in the Bundesliga or something like that. And he's also got a buyout clause, I read, of 27 million quid, which is just unheard of for a striker who's scoring loads of goals and who's young to be available for 27 million quid. It sounds like a no-brainer. But as always, there's a twist in the tail. Now, yes, you'd probably have Werner tomorrow for 27 million quid. You could get him, and even if it don't work out, 27 million quid's not that big a hit to take in this day and age. But the problem is, he's been linked with Liverpool. Now, there's a story doing the rounds. I don't know how true it is. It's a story. We just report the stories that we see. Story doing the rounds that Liverpool were in for Werner and that United are trying to hijack that move. Now, on the one hand, you say, right, Liverpool, obviously it pains me to say it, but it's a fact that the reigning Champions League winners, Jurgen Klopp, young manager, relatively young manager, he's German as well. If that counts for anything, Werner might be attracted to working with a fellow countryman. So, you know, you can see why someone would want to go to Liverpool. Not me, obviously, or not many Mancunians, but you can see why that would be an attractive proposition for a young striker. But United can offer him something that maybe Liverpool can't. At United, he'd probably be straight into the first team. Now, Liverpool have got a full front three of Salah, Mane and Firmino. They've also got Divock Origi on the bench as well. So they've got sort of 4 strikers, if you will, or attackers. So they've sort of got an embarrassment as riches, that you could say, up front. Do they really need Werner? Is he going to come in and get ahead of Firmino or ahead of Salah or ahead of Mane or even ahead of Origi, who, don't forget, scored in the Champions League final and has been scoring for fun when he's come off the bench? I don't think he does. I think he'd be something like 5th choice there. Maybe you could say further down the line one of those other players might move on, Salah, or someone might go to Madrid or wherever. But Werner will be taking a gamble going there. He may have to wait his time. If he came to United, there's every chance he'd start. You'd probably have a front three, maybe of him, Rashford and Martial. I don't know how you'd work it. But he'd definitely get more game time at United than he would at Liverpool. Yes, United aren't in the Champions League, but still a massive club, arguably the biggest club in the world, one of the biggest clubs in the world. You'd expect us to be in that Champions League conversation if we bought someone like Werner come the end of the season. And if the club can sell it to him, if Oli can sell it to him, that would be a great transfer to make. We'll have to wait and see. Get involved in the comments, guys. Let us know what you think about Rice and about Werner as well. Just looking elsewhere now, one sort of frustrating trait, a little bit for me, although you can look at it as a positive, I suppose, in some ways, but it is a little bit annoying, is that some of our loanees, some of the players we've loaned out are doing quite well. Dean Henderson has been having an absolute stormer over at Sheffield United. He made that one mistake against Liverpool and everyone sort of thought that summed up his season. It doesn't. That was the exception rather than rule. He's having a great season and he's been linked with sort of Gareth Southgate has said that he really likes him and that sort of thing, or there's reports that Gareth Southgate likes him and he's going to be a fixture in the England squad. You can understand that. He's having a really good season. Sheffield United are having a really good season, right up there near the top of the table, top 6, sorry. Had a big win at the weekend as well. So they're really sort of flying and he's been a massive part of that. He's doing really well, Dean Henderson. Listen, is Dean Henderson going to come back to United and get in the team ahead of David De Gea? No. But if he keeps doing what he's doing at Sheffield United, there may come a point where United have to make a decision. Will he keep going out on loan, or is he going to say, I want to be a first team choice for a team permanently? And that may be a difficult one for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or whoever is the United manager. Another player doing well on loan is Chris Smalling. He's banging in goals, he's doing goal line clearances, he's doing everything. He's having probably one of his best ever seasons. I know he's in Serie A, it's not as tough as the Premier League, but he's having a very good season. With Smalling, it doesn't look as though he's ever going to come back to United. There's already talk that Roma are going to buy him for around 16, 17 mil, which I think is ridiculous. I think he's worth a lot more than that. Others may disagree. But it is a little bit like frustrating. We've got these defensive problems, and one of the defenders we've let go or loaned out is doing really well when after a relatively inconsistent, shall we say, spell post Sir Alex Ferguson. I'm just going to get involved in the comments, guys. Let me know what you think about the players we've been linked with. Let me know if you've heard any other stories, any other reports that you've seen there of players we will be linked with. Rice has better passing range than McTominay, says El Shawari 92. Passing, yeah, his passing is good. Is it good enough, though, to warrant an £80 million bid? That's what I'm asking. Does he come straight in? Yes, he might have better passing than McTominay. Is he a better player? Is he a better defensive midfielder than Scott McTominay could be? Last week we were all raving, weren't we, about Scott McTominay. Now you're going to say, OK, we'll spend 80 million quid on Declan Rice and presumably to take Scott McTominay's place in the side. Is that a step forward? Is that the right sort of move we should be making? Adam Timung says, go for Mandzukic and Neves January and we might win Europa League. Listen, we scoff at the Europa League, but it's Champions League football if we get there. Someone just said, pass it on, says, Deulofeu would be a good addition. I've always liked Deulofeu. I liked him when he was at Everton. Remember, he had a really good game against us, didn't he, at Old Trafford? And you know, he looked lively in the semi-final when he came on against Everton as well. He caused us all sorts of problems. He's obviously I think he went to Barcelona, didn't he? It didn't really work out. Then he's at Watford now. He's a lively player and he's a good attacking player, but he's very inconsistent. And I get the feeling that United fans wouldn't be too patient with him. I think if he came in, I think there could be some sort of issues there where you're thinking, you know, 1 minute he looks great, the next minute he looks terrible. Are we going to stomach that in our current position? It's not like under Sir Alex where you could have someone like Nani or whoever who would be a bit inconsistent, but would get away with it because we had lots of other great players around him. Now we need a player a player like that who can come in and do a really good job almost straight away. Maddison, question mark. Yeah, we've been linked with James Maddison. He's having an absolute stormer of a season at Leicester. They're doing great things there, and we saw they had a really good win at the weekend at Palace. James Maddison looks like a deal that's going to happen. Obviously, we couldn't do it last summer, because we went in for Harry Maguire. There's no way Leicester were going to sell us 2 of their best players. But Maddison is a United fan as well. Young, fits in that ethos of a young British player who's got Premier League experience. I would love to see James Maddison in a Manchester United shirt. It looks like Paul Pogba's going to leave, probably next summer. It might be January. I don't think it will be January. I think it'll be next summer. James Maddison coming in to replace him. Yeah, if you sold Pogba for 130, 140 million, you could probably get James Maddison and another player as well. Whether that other player is Declan Rice remains to be seen. I'm not too sure about that. Someone else, Colin Wilmot. Why waste that money on Rice? Put that money on Maddison, surely. Yep, makes sense to me. Vardy next, haha, says someone. Doing all right, ain't he, Jamie Vardy? Someone suggested that a couple of seasons ago and I laughed at it, but now he's doing really well. And I think if we'd have got him a few seasons ago, we'd have probably got 50 or 60 goals out of him. I don't know now, he's in about 33 or something. He's doing well at Leicester, but I don't think he's ever going to leave, and I certainly don't think we're going to buy him. Maddison and Sancho, that should bag us Champions League football for the next 5 years. Jadon Sancho is a player that's been linked with United. Apparently we were interested in him in the summer, but he didn't want to come because of, either he didn't want to come because we weren't in the Champions League, or we weren't prepared to pay that sort of money that we wanted. I'm not sure the ins and outs of it all, but either way, it didn't happen. But he is a player that is on United's radar. I think if we signed Jadon Sancho, even for big money, I don't think many people would be too disappointed. Many United fans would be too disappointed with that. The money being spoken about though is about 100 million for Jadon Sancho. It's not pennies, it's real massive money. And we know what he's done in the Bundesliga. Can he do that in the Premier League? Probably can. He's a real talent, isn't he, Jadon Sancho? And I think if he came, he could form a real sort of trio, shall we say, with the likes of Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford, and also backed up by Dan James. And you've got real options there, attacking-wise. Rishi's asking, any left-back linked? At the moment, all the talk is Brandon Williams at left-back, isn't it? He's not even getting a game when he should have got a game at the weekend. I know he came on. Lots of people saying he should have started. If Brandon Williams can make a claim for the left-back spot this season, then we won't need to go out and buy anyone. Rayan Barnes says, we need a striker like Lautaro Martinez that will consistently get us goals. We were linked with Martinez. We did something last week. I think Howson did it on the Transfer Daily Update, where Martinez was a player we were speaking about. There are rumours going around that we're in for him. I think 96 million quid is what was being spoken about. He's a youngster. I think he's only 22, Argentinian. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll have to wait and see. It sort of came a little bit out of nowhere, that one. All of a sudden, he's not someone that we've been linked with for months or anything like that. Last week, all of a sudden, United are in for Martinez. I don't know if there's any truth to that rumour. Someone like Timo Werner seems more likely than Martinez. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it does seem more likely than Martinez. But listen, if he came again, I don't think you'd be grumbling at it. 96 million quid is a lot of money, though. Is a lot of money. Any news on the Saudi takeover? Someone is asking. No news. Apparently, I mean, I don't know. Everyone got excited, didn't they, when was it Richard Arnold was over there meeting the Saudi royal family? This is it. We're gonna have a takeover. It's all gone a bit quiet on that front. We keep hearing about this Saudi takeover. We've heard about it now for about 3 or 4 years. A lot of people just say anyone but the Glazers. I'd be happy if it was the Saudis. That's what they're saying. I'm not so sure. I don't like the Glazers. I wish they'd sell up. I don't know if that's the answer. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Someone asking, how about Isco? I'm gonna get pellets for this. But I've never liked Isco. I know he's a good player, and I know he scored some big goals, and he's exciting. I just don't know. I just think he's too inconsistent. I think there's something. It might just be the games I've seen him. I've seen him a few games where he's just not really turned up. So I've not been his biggest fan. Again, though, if he came, would you really grumble? Probably not. I'm just gonna wrap this up. Someone else is saying Werner has a 33 to, I think, 50 million release clause. Even if it was 50 million for release clause, would you grumble at that for a player who's banging in loads of goals and he's only 23, a striker of that calibre? I wouldn't. I mean, you're paying sort of 70 million, 80 million for strikers that have had an average season. So for someone who's absolutely flying and who's only young, I think you're going to pay anything around the £50 million mark is good. I think he's a bit of a, I don't want to say bargain, but why not? It's not really that much of a punt to pay that sort of money in this day and age for a striker. Lukaku didn't have a great season last season and he still went for 70 odd million, and rightly so. He should have done because he's a proven goal scorer. So someone like Werner, who is pretty much a proven goal scorer now, you look at it, he's having a good season, but he's had previous good seasons as well, scoring lots of goals, relatively young. Yeah, for me it makes a lot of sense. What are your top 5 players that you would like to see United on their position? So listen, to be honest with you, I just want to see us go out in the summer or in January and buy at least one midfielder and at least an attacker. We need to strengthen. We need to replace the players we've sold. We let Herrera go. We let Fellaini go. I know people say, oh, he wasn't good enough. But we let Lukaku go. We let Sanchez go. We let all these players go. We didn't replace any of them. Now, whether you think they were good enough or not, you took a lot of goals, a lot of experience out of that Manchester United team. You need to replace it. Right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there because I think I've waffled on long enough. Thanks for getting involved in the comments. I appreciate that. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well in the bottom left, is it? Bottom right, you can see the little subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that. We'll have more updates this week as well. We'll also have the preview for the Partizan game. We'll have the watch along for the Partizan game. We'll have the fan cams for the Partizan game. And then we'll be looking ahead to the Brighton game as well. We'll also have the podcast and all the other good stuff that you're used to. So don't forget to keep checking and keep it on this channel and keep supporting the channel. We appreciate it. Thanks for watching.